We got here just barely in time. We're at the Great Lakes National Cemetery, I believe. These fellows on the left are the honor guard. Looks like they're retirees. And the Wright family just went in. A gathering there. And a lot of attendees. You probably remember a few of the names, but it gets harder as time goes on. These are the honor guard. Look very fit, very fit.
So soon.
It's pretty.
For everyone to make their way in.
Let's hope this sky doesn't open up. It was really pouring back in Detroit. Let's hope it doesn't get like that.
Haley, we're about to perform the military honors. If you would please prepare yourself for the volley of the rifles. There'll be 3 rounds fired.
Firing party, hands up! Forward, forward! Right, hey! Ready? Fire! 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 2. Left, hey! Raise head, forward!
just represented the 3 volleys just fired for your loved ones. May God bless you and your family.
Reception at Brick Street Station afterwards. I think everybody has directions. If you don't, please see one of the family. Again, thank you so much for coming, and we ask that the place asks that we, because there's another group coming in right after that, everybody go right to the reception. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Very nice, very pretty. Out here in the country, the lake. A lot of open country. It's very restful. Anyway. And with me is my date.
Excuse me?
This is my date for today.
Oh, please don't put that in. You're going to show this to people?
No, I'm going to sell it.
Okay,
I'm sell it.
we're supposed to go.
I'm a paparazzi. Paparazzi is what I am. Well, we're lucky we didn't get poured on just when we were out of the car. Let's go back to the car before we do get poured on. Yeah. I know where to go. No, I know where to go. I'm all set. I'm sure I can find my way back home. Yeah. We're gonna have Dan says that he's going to say a few words. I'm not sure if the other kids are going to speak to you too. We shall see.
You know, when you're media, you're not like able to travel, like you don't get to know everybody. And there was such many people were there.
Well, I better wait till they're ready.
Hopefully everybody can hear me in the back. I'll try and be as loud as I can. We don't have a microphone, so I apologize. So hopefully, thank you very much for being here. But thank you everybody so much for coming today to this the wonderful ceremony. I think everybody would agree that really was, I think, my dad. Very simple, very understated, very quick, short, and it was just you know, his stories from the Army and that were very dear to him and his time in the Army and that. So I think it was very apropos that he had that ceremony at the National Cemetery. So again, thank you all for coming. We just want to say just a couple words. We couldn't let the time go without saying just a few words and some memories about my dad. You know, first of all, though, I want to make sure we introduce the family briefly. I'm Dan, which I'm Duane's oldest son. Duane and Peg's oldest son, and you all know Peg. I don't think I have to introduce her. But and my wife Shelley, my daughter Callie is in the back. Duane's second son David is here, and Allison is in the back, and the kids Ben and Jack are back there as well, his kids. Then Gary and his wife Maureen is behind him. He's the third. And we've got Caroline and Adam and Andrew, his 3 kids, and then finally his daughter Jill. I shouldn't say finally.
It was finally the daughter is here.
Trust us when we say the favorite child. Okay? Trust us.
Unfortunately, Jill's husband Sam and There's two kids, Nicholas and Alexandra, are in California and they couldn't make the long trip all the way over. So I want to make sure everybody understood the family. And again, I think each of us are just going to say one word or two about my father and what we remember most about my father. And certainly, if anybody else has anything they want to add, certainly feel free. You don't have to, but when I think back about my dad, and I think the things that just to remember most about him and that he taught me, I think one of the biggest things was just his even keel. He was always very calm. Never really got too excited or too upset. I mean, we really, if he was upset with us, you knew it. Maybe he'd raise his tone just a little, but you knew maybe by what he said that he was upset with you. He never really got that angry. Never really got that down. I never got really that excited, actually. The only time I remember that he got very excited, the only time I ever remember him really raising his voice real loud was when I was learning to drive. I think a time all of us parents went through is a difficult time, but I was coming up to a light and I just, light turned green and I just decided I'm going to go. Of course, a car was coming the other way. I was turning left and a car was coming the other way. She said, Dan! Luckily, I just missed the guy, but literally the only time I ever remember my dad really loud like that. So that's something I've always respected a lot about my dad, and I try to take just to try to keep that even keel, that just never get too high and too low, and just try and keep that.
Can I remind you of that, like, every day?
So anyway, I know that each of my brothers and sisters wanted to say something real briefly too. So thanks, Dave.
Coming again too, we appreciate it. Dan touched on it a lot with the even keelness, but I always, when I think back,
It's okay.
with memories and stuff, you always see. He didn't say a lot with his voice, but he said a lot with his eyes, I thought. He had that way of looking at you, or that, whether it was, proud of you, or angry with you, or upset, or, he had that way of saying things without saying them. You just knew. And it was always the eyes, and he would get that, and it's hard to describe, but he would just get a look in his eyes where you knew if you were in trouble, or if you knew he was proud of you, or he knew it was time for you to go to bed, or time for you to get out of bed, maybe. But I have another story too. We took a trip out west in a motorhome back when we were younger, and now, granted, for my mom to even talk him into spending, however many weeks in an enclosed area, 4 weeks in an enclosed area with his small children and his lovely wife without any relief. I don't know how she pulled that off, but he agreed, and off we went. And again, it was the same thing. It was just, driving, and we had destinations, and we hit them, and we had fun and everything. And we actually were going out and we saw Tom and Judy out there in Seattle. But on the way out there, and this is, I've never really, at the time, I'd just seen my dad absolutely just bust out laughing. We were driving, and this was maybe, mid-70s. And we passed this couple that were hitchhiking on the side of the road. And they were kind of like a hippie couple, maybe. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Dad just starts laughing. Like, I thought we were going to get right. He was laughing so hard. He almost had to pull over, and of course, kids are all like, "We've never seen that." So we go, "What are you laughing? What are you laughing about?" And he wouldn't want to tell us. He didn't want to tell us. And every time he tried to tell us, he could. He just started laughing more. And finally, we turned out. Well, it turns out, I guess, that when we passed the hitchhikers, and we didn't stop to pick them up in this big motorhome and stuff like that, they both turned around and mooned us. And he thought that was the funniest thing in the world. And I didn't know where that humor came from, or maybe pass that along to a couple of us. But I just thought that was just so. And like you said, yeah, just some of the craziest times when you see that emotion from somebody. And I know that he's touched that everyone is spending their time to help us celebrate his life and remember what a great man he was. And Allison had told me earlier, she said, you know, he's, as he's sitting up there, you know, he's sharing a bench with Sam McGee. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
I think I would add something to a little bit of what Dan said about his coolness and stuff. For those of you living in the Boone recording area, remember a story that kind of exemplified him. We were putting in a window air conditioning unit.
That's true.
And I was with him, and he wanted my help. And we're up in my upstairs room on the Berlin side. And I remember, I think, him telling me to hold something, which I didn't. And he set it up on this windowsill, and he turned, and it flipped out of the window. And he reached to grab it and grabbed the cord. Well, of course, the thing. Well, he's standing there holding the cord of his brand new window air conditioning unit he just bought, and in a heap on the ground underneath it, 2 stories down, is this hunk of metal that, and he just looks at me, and not getting mad because I'm sure it was my fault. Not at all. He just had this look, and he started to punch. And the other funny thing is, we walked downstairs from my room, and on our front porch, by the time we got down there, was this air conditioner. It was Gary Berlin who had come over and seen it fall out of the window, and he picked it up and he walked it over and set it on our front porch. So that was one thing. The other thing that I think exemplifies my dad, and I love my mother dearly, as we all do. And but I come home one day, Maureen and I, and he's near Christmas time, and he's on his belly, lying underneath our Christmas tree with a drill and some branches and glue. And he's drilling stuff into the tree. And I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? And he goes, your mother didn't like the way I got rid of the branches on top of our tree, so I'm putting them back into the tree. It goes along with the other story about pork chop. Maureen and I lived with my parents graciously for a number of months while the house was being built. And Wright came home one day, and my dad was cooking pork chops, shake and bake pork chops. And those of you who know my dad, he burns salad. And so he goes, shake and bake pork chops, 15 minutes. That's what you cook them for. He's got them on for 45 minutes. And Wright's like, no, you cook them for 15. And he's like, but Peg said 45. You can see the smoke in his head turning about, I read the directions that say 15, but Peg said 45. So I think I'm going to go 45. So that was, he didn't, it was easy to log with, so that's one thing we miss about me.
Yeah, I had kind of a different time with my dad because he was, being the youngest and having 7 years in between myself and Gary, got to spend a bit more time with him doing things, whether it was on a Saturday, and we always had a ritual of going, I had a paper route, the Observer Eccentric, and one Saturday a month I'd get paid, and that would be the day I'd buy. And we'd go to Don Donuts, and he'd get donut and coffee, and I would get, and a newspaper, and I would get, my stuff. And the other 3 weeks he'd pay, and he'd do that every Saturday. That's kind of a neat thing. But I was thinking about the humor. Who was on his bowling team called the Nads? I thought it was funny because then they could he said, well, if you go Nads. That was my dad's bowling team. So just things like, he did have a great fine sense of humor. The follically challenge.
Oh, stop.
Big, we always had some good laughs, and he would just he'd have these one-liners, and they would just kind of, hit you, and you just all start cracking up. So that's a definite fond memory. And I told that when we had the last thing for my dad, I became an engineer because of him. I miss him. But I was very lucky, to spend all that time with him. I got to travel. We went to Egypt, Turkey, and Greece. My parents, I got to do that with them. Also did a trip to Italy with them. Had my dad in the back of a gondola. He was not singing. So got to do that. Got to do so many wonderful trips. It was the best.
I want to say a couple words. My name is Dan Wright. I work for General Motors, and that's part of Duane's work life family. Arlene and I, and Barry over here, and I was in labor relations, on our last assignment. I mean, I knew Duane years before, and he was always a gentleman, always well-dressed, always just very well contained. And, but the union knew how to get his joke. You know Duane, he always knew where his resources were. He would come down to the office and man, you would not want to be on the other side of that plan that he put together. Because he would find a way to find a demise befitting, you know, the situation. And we had some wonderful times together. We ate lunch quite often together. We shared a lot of jokes with Duane's strange sense of humor. But we always had the greatest respect for him because he was a guy that was so resourceful. If you needed something, Duane knew where to find it. He knew where to get it. He knew how to get it to you. And I tell you what, if I was planning war, I'd want to be on Duane's team.
He used to come home and tell me, and he'd go to bed and fall right asleep, and I'd lie in bed thinking about it. So it was, you know, it didn't bother him.
Never found out who stole his coffee mug that one time.
No.
Never found that out.
Never found that out.
I have a story about Duane. Duane and Peggy and the Condors and Betty, we traveled a lot together. We had a lot of fun. But Peggy told me the story. I think she and Duane were heading up to the Condors place up in Leland. And he was pulled over by the state police.
What?
I know it's hard to believe, but so he pulled over, and the cop came up to him, a big, strapping state cop, and he said, "You realize how fast you're going?" And Duane said, "Yeah, I was going the speed limit." He said, "Good. You're at least 15 miles over the speed limit." And Peggy said, "Duane, I told you to slow down." So Duane says, "Peggy, please, stay up." And he said, "You switched lanes 3 times and you never used your turn signal." And Peggy said, "Well, it's broken, officer." So he says, "For God's sake, Peggy, will you stay out of this?" So anyway, there was a couple other things there, and Duane denied every single one of them. He said, I was going to have it fixed next week, officer." He says, "It's too late." So then he walks around the other side, and he looks in the window, and he asks Peggy, "Is he always this cranky?" And Peggy said, "Only when he's drinking."
That can't be true. That can't be true.
Thank you, Jenny.
What'd she say?
As you can tell, we've always had a good time. We've been blessed. 51 years we were married, almost 51. And everything everybody said is Duane. He was easy to live with. He never got mad. I never heard him swear. In fact, I used to say S-H-I-T towards the end, and I never ever heard him say it.
They can spell now, by the way.
And so it's very, very easy 50 years, 51 years. And I know we'd be happy to see all of you at a special place in his heart. And we have these packets. In fact, Dave, if you go out, if you get those packets, because some people didn't get those, but we had a friend of Dan made, I guess I'd call it a brochure with pictures of him, and practically everyone he has a baby on it. He was so calm and so cool that he could hold a crying baby and get the baby to sleep like that. Anyhow, I counted the days. It's been 141 days, almost a third of a year. And if I count the 21 days he was in the hospital, it's 163. And I thought, wish you were here.
wish you were here. Every time I do something, I say, wish you were here. Watched the first Tiger game, wish you were here. Watched something that he would have liked on TV, wish you were here. See a spider that I had to kill myself. And he didn't like spiders either. You know, something breaks, wish you were here. He could fix anything, and he did. I never had to call anybody in to fix anything. He always fixed it. He didn't like painting, but he did like fixing it. So, thinking about the song, Wish You Were Here, I thought, gee, I was thinking about saying Wish You Were Here, I thought about that song. Anybody my age remember Eddie Fisher singing Wish You Were Here? Well, I thought this would be kind of my last, not tribute, because I'll be thinking about him all the time, but I coerced our daughter-in-law Maureen and our son Dave to play it. So they're going to, Dave's going to play it on the guitar, and Maureen's going to sing Wish You Were Here.
As blue this year, wish you were here. As blue as they used to when you were near. Wish you were here. And the mornings don't seem as new, brand new as they did with you. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Someone's painting the leaves all wrong this year. Wish you were here. And why did the birds change their song this year? Wish you were here. They're not shining the stars as bright. They've stolen the joy from the night. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. They're not making the skies as blue this year. Wish you were here. As blue as they used to when you were near. Wish you were here. And the mornings don't seem so new, brand new as they did with you. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Someone's painting the leaves all wrong this year. Wish you were here. And why did the birds change their song this year? Wish you were here. They're not shining the stars as bright. They've stolen the joy from the night. Wish you were here. Wish you were here. Wish you were here.
Well, we have as our guests today Peggy and Duane Wright, who got married the same day as we did, August the 3rd, 1963. And actually we went to their wedding, but we didn't get invited to the reception because we had our own.
No, we didn't invite them to ours either.
No, they were busy.
I thought yours was the next wedding.
We were busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Busy.
Won't say doing what.
So here we are, like 45 years later, sitting on the porch,
I didn't even see you. Well, I did, if we had
Oh.
a picture taken.
enjoying the thing that human beings like the most, which is a good meal. I hope it's good. Is it going to be good, Virginia? You're the cook.
Never know. Is that on a fountain? Yes, it
This
does.
is a movie. Yeah, I'm taking a video here.
Oh.
Okay. So I got most of the stuff you were saying earlier, but we can edit this if there was anything you
Good.
said that you didn't mean to say, you know?
Want some more salad, Duane? I'm okay.
You're okay.
All the cheese got
No.
at the bottom.
No, Duane and I are the guys, we're the swill lovers. I love swill, don't you?
Oh, Will is excellent.
Without swill, you can't enjoy life. Yeah, there you go.
Here's the swill.
You're drinking the water. Drink the wine.
Oh. All right, here's the swill.
Okay. That's the chaser. Okay. So anyway, here we are, 45 years later.
I don't know.
We're still hale and hearty.
They called it that. My mother
A few a few physical problems, but in general, we're in good health. I would say we're in good health, aren't we?
Yeah, we all
You
have
take a few
something.
medications, you know.
We're on the green side of the sod, as they say.
Yeah, that's right. We're not pushing up the daisies yet. But it's good to be together again, 45 years later.
It's very nice to do that.
We're lucky we're
And
still here.
From the day one.
I
to
guess.
Yep.
We've done it
Stay.
every year, I think. Haven't
You
we?
trim your own
Haven't we done it?
mustache, or does she help you with that?
Oh, I do my own.
What
Yeah,
have we
it's good.
done together every
Looks
year?
good.
I just had my haircut today, and the guy said, you
Mine,
want to trim your
day on the
mustache?
day.
And I said, I'll do my own.
Yeah, I do that with my eyebrows. They always want to get after my eyebrows because I have heavy eyebrows, and I say, no, I'll take care of it myself.
On Sunday, are you gonna?
Anyway.
Nothing that I know. Well, you're not, the kids aren't, I thought you said you were doing something.
Well, Joe's not coming in, and Dave can't come in, so.
Peggy, what do you have to say after 45 years? Was it a gross mistake, or do you think it
No.
turned out all right?
And just one bed of roses.
A bed of roses? No kidding, those are kind of thorny. I wouldn't want to get in a bed with roses.
No thorns?
How about you, Duane? What do you say? Would you, if you had to do all over, would you have like stayed single?
Absolutely.
Stayed single?
No, I would absolutely have continued with the day.
With the dago? What?
What?
With the day.
With the day? You would have gone ahead with it, huh?
Yes.
You didn't have one of those things when you knelt down at the altar, and one shoe says help, and the other says it's me, help me.
I've seen that. But
That's cute, isn't it?
didn't need it. Everything was beautiful.
Okay, good.
He's got his fingers
All worked
crossed.
out. Well, I wish I could say the same thing, but this has been the longest 45 years of my life.
Ditto.
I was such a happy kid when I was 30 years old, and then she got me in her clutches, old maid school teacher. She was desperate, and she says, well, he's a gunk, but we'll just get him anyway. This is our last chance.
Baloney.
Yeah. She said, we'll get him. I'll invite him to dinner, she said, and I'll show him how good I can cook. So I got to the dinner. Her mother cooked it. She didn't even cook it, and she snuck an onion in there, too. Remember that, Virginia?
My mother's. Well, she did that with all her roasts.
Yeah, they were great.
Don't let them see the onions, and so she put them underneath the roast.
Yeah.
She said, oh, this is so good. So this roast. She didn't know that that's why it was good.
Well, I thought you had cooked it.
You know, my
Why
mother-
else would I marry you? I thought your father was a butcher, because he came out in that shop coat the first time I met, was over at Joe's, and I figured, hey, we'll eat well anyway, it'll be good food. And I found out he's not a butcher.
My mother did the same thing. She cooked dinner for him the first time I invited him over, and I pretended I cooked. Well, then the next time I invited him for breakfast, I thought, oh, she'll cook that too. My dad went out and I had her cook the breakfast. Remember, it was horrible.
And there was
It was horrible.
Oh,
Check something here.
there was
Cereal,
a few issues there at breakfast, yes.
Yeah, the breakfast, the pork
Well,
chops were bad. The pork chops
It's
were
better
bad.
than if I had cooked it.
Well, true.
tell me honestly, what did your parents say about Duane? Like, that she thought he was below your standing in society
No,
or anything?
They liked it.
They liked him right from the
My
beginning?
dad told him about me. He said, what did he tell you?
He said, watch her, she spends a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't think he said that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
he
was
was
not too
honest.
happy with my dad.
Well, what did your
So I tried to back out, and it was too late.
what did your parents have to say about her?
They didn't like me.
No? Thought she was kind of
The
uppity?
Catholicism.
Oh, the Catholicism, that's right. Oh, yeah, mixed marriage. It
They
can,
didn't say anything, but,
No.
there might have been a little undercurrent there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
your mother called my mother and said they're gonna have all sorts of trouble, and my mother said, why?
Mhm.
Because you're
Yeah.
Catholic and we're not.
Well, you could teach them the sign of the cross and everything's taken care of.
Well, then on our 40th, we were up with having a blessing at church.
What happened?
And we're up there, and Father blesses us, and I make the sign of the cross with my right hand. He's holding on to my left hand. He makes it with his left hand in front of the whole church. I thought, oh my gosh.
That's right, mirror image, right. That's how Phil Mickelson learned how to play golf. He played left-handed so he could face his father and see the swing, right? He got all the sequences
Oh my
right.
God, I remember.
Look at that, he's a multi-millionaire.
I'm sure every time we go to church, they say, and there's a guy who makes
There's
the
this
sign
guy
of the
who-
cross with his left hand.
Always did
I
it
think
with
the
his left hand.
Orthodox do that.
Yeah.
I got, that was my only solace.
Well, that's cute. That's a good story.
No, that was still 5 years ago.
Oh. Well, I mean, no, the 5 years ago, but the whole story, starting from the beginning where, you know, my mother was Catholic, of course, and my father was Methodist. So that was a little problem.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he had an older sister who married a Catholic, and it worked out. So they figured, well, you know, it could happen. You know, you never know. So, well, they both stayed together their whole married life. So I guess that's something. Because that's the last generation. You know, our generation's the last generation that'll probably happen for.
Well, the worst part. Oh, I should have taken these.
Oh, Jenny, hey, here's the maid.
The worst part was that.
Here's the maid's cook. The cook's maid. Thanks. Your service is excellent. Thank you for your service, lady.
No, I'll just put it on.
Oh.
I can get it all.
Oh, that's
Is there
wonderful.
anything else that needs to go? No.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to sign off now because we're bringing on the main course. Tube steak.
Pardon?
Tube steak, what do you want?
Don't you know what tube steak is?
Oh, they're dressing. I should have helped her and I never thought I was too busy being.
See if I have any memory left.
Being videoed.
Oh, down to 6 seconds. This is it. Do you have anything to say? I have 4 seconds. Go quick.
Oh,
Say it.
I'm looking forward to the tube steak.
Okay.